Applause, please. Just wanted to share a really loud family moment with you. For those of you who don't know, who knows who this is? Amelia. Can you say hi? Hi. Say hi, Amelia. Just had to do that, excuse me. Where am I? What? Oh, wow, nice lights. Whew. I would have put my makeup on if I'd known we were going to have the lights. Well, it's good to be here. Buenos dias. I did. That's all I have to say to impress you. I'm stopping right there. I need a translator. Can you come up and translate for me just a second? No, serious. Come here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, bueno, bueno. That's very good. Yeah. What's that? Oh, right here. Right here. All right. I just want to show off a little. If you know Spanish, you'll know I'm doing really poorly. Buenos días.
Good morning.
Bendiciones.
Blessings.
Es mi placer estar con usted hoy.
It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Gracias por su tiempo y de invitación de Pastor Rob.
Thank you for your time and Pastor Rob's invitation.
Yo soy muy feliz de estar aquí con mi familia espíritu esta mañana.
I'm very happy to be here with my spiritual family this morning.
Quiero que sepas que Dios nos ha estado ayudando a aprender español.
I want you to know that God has been helping us to learn Spanish.
Gracias por su ayuda y asisto.
Thank you for your help and assistance.
No sería posible sin
It would
ustedes.
not be possible without you.
I'm done. Gracias. And for the record, even though I read some of that, I did translate that on my own with just a little bit of help from Google Translate. Shh, don't tell anyone, especially my teacher. Yes, that's what it is, yeah. Anyway, it's very good to be with you. I feel like it's been a crazy few days since I left Honduras and flew into Boston and drove from Boston to St. John and stopped at my daughter and granddaughter and son-in-law's house and then drove the next day here. We're driving back to St. John tomorrow and then Fredericton and then Boston and flying out on Friday. But for me, it's been worth it. I guess for those of you who know us, and that's most of you, I was going to bring him in. Hobo's in the car. And I may bring him in before the end, or have my daughter do that. But for me, that's kind of what precipitated the trip. But then a lot more, and then of course to see Emma and Amelia and family, and of course be with you. We're visiting. I keep saying we. I really, really, really wish Anna was here. She sends, as you know her, she sends all of her love and greetings to you because she would love to be here too. But she's here, and she's certainly praying for us. And me being up here today is actually her idea through a Skype to Rob, and I'm thinking, okay, sure, I'll do that. What am I going to do? And when am I going to have time to do this? But you're always in our heart. You're always in our prayers. And so we love you. We miss you physically, but we know that we're still a part of this family, and that means everything to us. So for the record, I wanted to spend at least a little part of my 1 week vacation with you. So we're technically on vacation from Spanish classes. A well-needed vacation, believe me. After 3 months of classes and a headache every day, And I know you already think I'm old, but every day at the end of class, after 4 hours from 8 until 12, I would come home and have lunch. Guess what I would do next? Very. He knows that because he does the same thing. Every day I got a headache from Spanish class. Every day. But it was a good headache, but man, it was hard. So I wanted to spend part of my vacation with you. It's a day, it's a morning, but for me it's important. And so it's really good to be here. When we leave tomorrow to go back to St. John, and I spend a little more time with Emma and other family, my mom and my sisters and things like that, I'm going to Fredericton. And Fredericton is the place that sent the first team to Honduras. And it was unexpected. It was kind of a last-minute thing. Well, last minute, I mean, in terms of maybe 3 months, where our other team had been planning for almost a year to come. But it was a good time. It's difficult to do this alone. I've done this before when we were support raising, and I would travel alone, and Anna was with me for part of it, and then other parts she couldn't be with me, and it's always so much easier when she's with me. So I wish she was here, but she's not. But it's always good to come home. But I have to be honest with you, it feels somewhat like I've left home, and it definitely feels like I am home. So when I said I'm not sure where I am, I really meant that. So if I just kind of wander off, or if I start speaking in Spanish a little bit, hopefully you'll understand. But it's very good to be here, and to share with you just a little bit about what's going on in our lives and been going on in our lives since we left you, which has been lots in some regards, and same old, same old. When you do 3 months of 8 to 12 Spanish classes every day and 2 to 4 hours of homework every night, it's same old, and there's not a lot new to talk about, and yet there's all kinds of new to talk about. So, you might be asking yourself, well, if I'm here today and I've never been to Honduras, and I don't know if I'll ever go, or, what could a talk about Honduras have anything to do with me? Well, I think it does. I think whenever we talk about mission, it has to do with all of us. I think whenever we talk about what we were created to do in this world, I think it relates to all of us. And whether or not we've embraced Jesus and his mission for us, or whether we haven't, it still relates. It's still for all of us. So I hope, as I just share a little bit about the mission, you'll think about that perspective, because the reality is that God created you to be on mission. He created you for a purpose. And you won't find your purpose outside of him. And so that's why whenever we talk about mission, it relates to you. Wherever you are in your journey to or with God, mission relates to you. So for us, I just want to say thank you. Now, you probably know me well enough to know that sometimes I say things tongue-in-cheek. So when I say thank you to you as a church family, because of you, those of you who supported us, you actually funded our 3 months in language school. So thank you. Now, when I say that, I'm also saying that 3 months is very hard. But thank you anyway. Because you actually paid for that entire 3 months in language school with your support. So that, saying thank you seems like so little, but thank you. And thank you for your willingness to support what God is doing in the world and what we're doing as a part of that, because it makes all the difference. And in our time there, he's also helped us to actually, if you hit the next slide, this is a girl that if you've never seen that picture, if you're on my Facebook page every once in a while, you've seen this picture. This is Gabriela. Gabriela was my first Spanish teacher. She's since retired. She can't take it anymore. Rob understands. He's ready to retire himself. It's a good thing I left when I did, or you'd have to look for 2 pastors. Gabriella is 22 years old, and a very, very good Spanish teacher. And so I had her for about the first 9 weeks and learned a lot from her. And it's an amazing school. It's a Christian school. All the teachers are Christian. There's a community of believers there. We get together every Tuesday night for Bible study. There's a men's breakfast every Thursday morning for the guys who want to go. Like, it's a community that God led us to. We weren't even planning to go there. As a couple of you know, we were planning on going to Copan, where Shelley and Dave have been, and where your team is going to go. And God kind of opened our awareness to the school and then the door to go to the school. And we've been really blessed to be there. So you're a big part of that. But he also gave us an opportunity to start ministry partnerships. And you can't really see the guy standing beside me. That church is about 10 minutes from the airport to Tegucigalpa, the capital. Joel is his name. Joel's father is the pastor. We met Joel in our first week there. He's a compassion translator. Anybody notice the tablecloth? Anybody here how many people have a compassion child? Raise your hands. Right. So you get compassion. We believe God is leading us, me particularly, to find a way to support and encourage and disciple pastors in the compassion churches in the country. There's 200 of them. And so our first week there, anybody hear of Hillside Wesleyan? Well, the pastor there, Jay, arrived in Tegucigalpa the day after we did on a compassion visit. He introduced us to 4 compassion translators. This is one of them. And when I told him that mission, Joel said, I want to help in any way I can. I'll do anything, and I don't want money for it. Like, he's a paid translator. That's what he does. He said, I don't want any money for it. Because of the vision that you have for that, it really is God's vision. It's not mine. I just want to help in any way I can. And he's already done that. So we showed up for coffee after about 3 weeks, and we were in there one day, and he said, come on for coffee. So we'd been in the country for about a month. We already knew Joel, and he says, oh yeah, he says, can you come to my church on Saturday tonight? Oh, and we had just come back from language school, and I was tired, and I had homework to do, and I was thinking, oh, do I really want to do this? And I said, well, probably not for those reasons. And then we had coffee about an hour, and then his mother called. His father's the pastor. His mother called and said, are they coming to church? It's like, oh, seriously? Okay, I'll go. And so we get to Joel's. He said, well, you must have come to my house. Church starts in an hour and a half. Come to my house. They live in a 3-bedroom place in a very poor community. There are 3 generations, 13 people living in the same house, and they're a beautiful family. And as I'm in this house and I'm trying to relate in Spanish, keep in mind it's only about a month in, and he said, you are the first people from outside Tegucigalpa or Honduras to ever be in our home. And so as we rolled into the church, and he had mentioned this once before, we rolled into the church, he said, oh, by the way, you're preaching tonight. Welcome to Honduras. That's my oft-used, probably my most oft-used phrase, especially when teams are there. Welcome to Honduras. I went, seriously? And how do you say no? You can't say no.
Didn't learn yet.
I haven't learned it. And you don't know either, so I don't know what you're talking about. So I said, okay. And he said, are you preaching in Spanish or English? And then I laughed. I said, well, we know it's not going to be. And so I shared with whatever God had kind of laid on my heart. And then after the service, he said, you're actually the first people from outside Honduras to ever be in our church. And he said, would you please come back so we can give you supper? And it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm just fried. Please let the blessing continue. Well, when you say it like that, how do you say no? And I didn't really want to say no, but it just had been a really long day and a lot fuller than I had anticipated. But we went, and they fed us dinner, and we made a connection with this family. And God orchestrated those steps. We couldn't plan that. Jay Guptill from Hillside Wesleyan is going on a compassion-sponsored visit to Tegucigalpa, Honduras. He arrives the same time I didn't even know he was going. He knew we were going, but he didn't know when. And I connected with him at the airport in San Juan, the last leg of our journey. And he said, oh yeah, it's just like, who does that? I can't organize that. You know me well enough to know that. Okay, you need to move in the back row. He's rolling his eyes. It's true, but stop rolling your eyes. Please. All right. But God can. And the things that I struggle with organizing and arranging in my life that I'm afraid of, that I need to do this, and I need to manage this, and I need to control all of this, well, okay, it's easier for me to let those things go maybe than some other people, but I do the same kind of thing too. I have my own control issues, as you do. And the question is, who's going to be in control? The real question is, who is in control? And I discovered through that set of circumstances that God is in control. And for me, I don't know about you, but for me, that's a good thing. Isn't that a good thing for you? Even though you forget it every once, even though I forget it every once in a while. Mission. In this life, we have a mission. Whether you've embraced it, whether you're following it, God created you with and for a mission. A general mission, but a specific mission too. And whether or not I've embraced Him and whether or not I've embraced that, it is true. It's the reality. And I was thinking about what I was going to share this morning, and it dawned on me, as things slowly do at times, but when the sign fell down, one of the relationship or representation, I'm not sure which one fell first. Typically it's representation because we don't like to do missions or outreach. But so that's probably the sign that fell, collapsed here about 20 minutes ago. But LifeBridge is based on that. It's about mission. LifeBridge started with that vision. I don't think, it certainly didn't come from you. No, I'm just getting even now. It came from God. It came from somebody who wanted to know what the mission was so that I could do whatever it is you want me to do. Well, what is it? You walk by it every time you come in on Sunday. What is it? It's to have a relationship with God and to help other people encounter Jesus, a relationship with God. Are you listening? And His family. And His family. It is not just about you and Jesus. It is never about that. That is very important. That's only half of it. The other half is with His family. And to help other people embrace the same thing. When we come back here, I don't do hugs. I really don't. But whenever I come here, I do hugs. Why? Because I'm with family. And I want to. Sorry. No, I do. Like, the bigger part of me does want to, but why? Because I'm with family. When I show up in Honduras, I get hugs. Why? Because I'm with family. I stayed in Boston overnight with a woman and a husband and a 2-year-old boy that I never met before. They opened their door because I knew somebody that they knew, and she said, sure, stay for the night. And why? Because I'm family. Your family here is vital. And that's what LifeBridge is about. But it's also about representing Him, wherever you are. Like Sheldon said as an intro to one of our songs, it's mission in Honduras. And yes, for us, that's what it is right now. I don't know for how much longer. I expect it will be for a long time. But I don't know. God knows. But wherever you are, your mission is to be Jesus wherever you are. And so if you're not being Jesus where you are, you're not going to be Jesus somewhere else. But your mission is just to represent Him. Well, you know what? We had the head of the school, his name's Michael Wolf. I don't know how he ended up doing this. He loves fireworks, and he has this whole trailer full of them in his yard. I mean, it's amazing. This guy's got he has the best fireworks in Honduras, okay? Seriously. So the governments come to him when they want to put on a fireworks show because he's got it all, okay? So somehow, with all of his government connections, he ended up going with government representatives to China for I'm not sure what. Anyway, it was something to do with, I don't know what it was. But he was going as a representative of the nation of Honduras. But in reality, while he was there, he was a representative of Jesus. Wherever you go, that's your job. That's my job. Or wherever you are. If you're not going anywhere. I mean, I hope someday you'll come to Honduras. Just a plug there for those of you who have never been. For those of you who have been and are debating going back, we will have a place for you. Well, what is it all about? We've now had 2 teams in Honduras, and I've listened to Alvin talk about, when people, he just talks about the mission and what they're doing, and people say, well, they're encouraging him to talk about the mission and what they're doing, and he always talks about it from this passage of Scripture. So I thought, well, I'm representing Jesus, BGC, Life Bridge, and Manos Extendidas. And so he talks about Matthew 25. When he's talking about the mission of Manos Extendidas, and I would say the mission of Christians, he talks about Matthew 25. And so I've listened to him talk about it at least 3 or 4 times. And it's a perspective I hadn't really thought about before. Not totally, anyway. And in the Scripture, there's 3 sections in there. And the first one is talking about the 10 virgins who are waiting for the bridegroom. And if you have your Bibles, you can turn to Matthew 25. There's only going to be a couple scriptures up on your screen, but you can read it later. And Jesus was telling a parable, and he's saying, the end of the world, the end of times is going to be like this. And so he tells a story about 10 virgins. Some of them are ready, some of them are not. Some of them are ready for the bridegroom, others are not. And so he's talking about being ready. But the other thing he's talking about is what God gives you when you are in relationship with Him. He gives you family. He puts you in a family. He gives you relationships. Marriage, for example, was His idea. Bridegrooms, virgins waiting for the bridegroom for marriage. That's the picture. So when you come to God, He gives you way more than you ever thought, or way more than you ever bargained for. But that's what He gives you. That's what He has for you. That's what He has for me. And I love it. And when I've been away from you, I've noticed how much I miss you. Some of you. Others, no. I'm just kidding. I miss you all. He has relationship for you. He has family for you. The marriage, whether or not you end up ever married in this life, the marriage He has for you is with Himself. I mean, that's a lot. Because, when I was younger, I just read, I don't know where I read this, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I was reading something about this, the same kind of thing. When I was younger, my sister, man, she had 50 friends to every one of mine. That's what it felt like. It's a slight exaggeration. Pastors, some are known to do that. Don't mention any names. And it bugged me that she had all these friends and I would have, just 3 or 4, good buddies. But that's the way it was. But that's what He has for you. He has a relationship. And so whether you want many or whether you just want few, you need them And he has them for you. And it's not just friendship, it's family. The best of family. Oh, I know every once in a while we're the worst of family. Or somewhere in between. We all mess up. We're all in process. But he has family for you. And so that's the picture. That's it. That's the first part of the picture. There's other things in there too. But he's saying, this is what I have for you, in part. But then he tells another parable. And he tells the parable, it's called, in the NIV, it's called the parable of the talents. Which is not just about talent, it's about money, it's about value. It's about the things that he has for you of infinite value. And so he entrusts this stuff to you. He says, you know, I've got this incredibly valuable stuff. Here you go. Now it's in your hands. What are you going to do with it? And so everything we need, he has for us. Everything. The problem for me is I don't always trust him. So I try to manage all of that. And fix all of that. And arrange all of that. And I'm afraid about all of that. And I have anxiety and fear and I'm preocupado, we say in Spanish. We say in Spanish. Right, Bev? Muy preocupado. Not that you are, of course. I'm just saying, that's the Spanish. But that's what we do. We worry and we fret and we stew and we plan and we control and we manage and we do everything but trust. Sometimes. I'm talking about me, and maybe some of you. Maybe all of you. I don't know. But he's saying, I have this for you. Everything you need to do what I've called you to do is here. If you will just trust me and trust that. But we have a hard time with that. But that's what he's saying. He's saying, so I have family for you. I have relationship for you. I have this intimate relationship with myself or a marriage with Jesus, if you will. I have all of the things, the valuable things that you need, whether it's work or whether it's money or whatever it is that you need, I will give that to you. And I have to tell you, that we've been discovering that. You know, sometimes anyway, I guess God knew that I needed the mission as much as the mission needed me. But it's helping me to remember, like we're completely dependent on Him. We have. People say, "How long are you going to stay?" I don't know. We're planning on staying a long time, but if the money stops, then we have to come back. Where's the money coming from? Well, it's coming from God through His people. That's it. So what are you doing? Well, we have to trust Him, and that's what we're doing. Some days it's easier than others. But that's what we're doing. But He has that for you and for me. And so I just want to remind you of that. So that's what God has for us in Matthew 25. And He's just saying, you want it all? I got it all for you. But then there's something more. And the more is, here's what I've done for you. Here's what I will do for you. But, or and, pero, or y, that's fine, is you have something to do. I'm caring for you in all these ways. You can trust that I will care about every part of your life, and all you need to do is have faith in me. But, pero, and, y, there's something else. And that's the next section, where he's talking about the sheep and the goats, and he says, in Matthew 25:31, he says, when the Son of Man comes in His glory, and all the angels will come and sit on His throne in heavenly glory, all the nations will be gathered before Him, and He'll separate people, the sheep from the goats. And He'll put the sheep on His right and the goats on His left. And the King will say to you, come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom of heaven prepared for you since the creation of the world. You have an inheritance. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty. You gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. And the righteous will answer, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry, thirsty, naked, in prison, or in the hospital? Never. He said, whenever you have done it to the least of these, you have done it to me. So when you serve somebody else, and it doesn't really matter in what way you do that, but when you do that, he says, you are serving me. Don't forget that. You are serving me. And he's talking about the least of these, right? Like the people that I tend to forget. I don't know about you, but those are the people I tend to forget. Or do what I did with somebody in the room. I'll walk by. You're there, but if I don't look at you, you can't see me. Ever do that before? If I don't look at you, you can't see me. And then I won't feel guilty. And then I won't feel compelled to act. And then I won't act. But when I'm not doing what God has put right before me, it's not them I'm not serving. Who am I not serving? Yeah, that's what he says. My responsibility, your responsibility, is to serve him. And we go, well, yes, I serve him. I go to church most of the time. Of course, this winter, that's about once a month on average. Slackers. What your problem is. But that's not it. It's important. I go to my growth group. I won't ask you to raise your hands who does or doesn't go. But if you are not a part of a group like that, that's a problem for you. But that's not just it. It's important. It's very important to be discipled with other believers, to know what God's taught us to do and not do, and to do it, and to be in a close relationship so there's accountability and help and support, not just for me, but from me. It's not just for you. It is, but it's more than that. But he said, when you do this, you are serving me. Your responsibility is to care for me. Think, well, how can I care for Jesus? He doesn't need anything. He's God. What does he need from me? Why would he need anything from me? Why did he say it? See, when I serve someone else, he says, yes, that person matters, and yes, I love that person, but when you serve them, it is me you are feeding. It is me you are giving clothes to. It is me you're giving water to. It's me you're encouraging in prison. It's me who you're encouraging in the hospital. It's me, it's me, it's me, it's Jesus. Well, that puts a whole new spin on it, doesn't it? And that's what mission is. It's not just for the sake of giving them water. It's for the sake of helping to introduce them to Jesus' love in really practical ways. Right? Does that make sense? And wherever you are, okay, well, we're in Honduras. I mean, I'm not in Honduras right now. Maybe part of me is. I'm not sure which part, but you are here. When you were somewhere else, you were there. Wherever you are, that's where he wants you to do that. Not turn a blind eye to the opportunities, but embrace them. Because you're embracing him. You're embracing his mission for you. You're actually loving him. You're caring for him. To me, that's put a whole new light and spin on what I do. Because he said, truly I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these. Know any least of these in your life, in your neighborhood, in your family, in your church? That you do. And if you're running a little low, we've got lots of envelopes, as there are in many parts of the world. The least of these. Whenever you did it for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did it for me. Jesus said, you did it for me. So he's saying that I have cared for you, now you care for me. I've taken everything into consideration. I know every part of your life. I will give you the very best that you need. I will take care of you. Now you take care of me. That's how you do it. Wherever you are. See, we've all been called to point people into a relationship with God. And as I said, whether you've embraced a relationship with Jesus or whether you're on that journey or not, whether you've embraced him or not, whether you're still on that journey, that is what you were created to do. To have a relationship with the eternal God. That's pretty awesome when you think about it. He has that for you. And his family, him and his family, that's what he has. That's the best. It doesn't get any better. I can tell you. As a guy who's moved to a new country, trying to make new friends, in reality, just recognize who my family is, and do whatever it takes to help lead others into that same family. That's what he's called us to do there. Well, when you leave your family and you go to another place and you're creating a new family, I mean, you really come to appreciate what you have or what you've kind of left behind. Does that make sense? That's what he has for you. And when you have that, he says, now, the second best thing is every opportunity, let people see me living in and through you. Or in other words, to represent God. Wherever you are. And to the least of these, the people that other people forget. Or it's the people that I forget. And maybe the people that you forget sometimes. We often think about adults. Adults are sick. Adults are in prison. Whatever. That's not the way it is with Mano Sextendidos, I can tell you that. Yes, adults, yes, some elderly, but mostly it's children and youth and young adults. And many of them are the least of these because they're the poor. Many are the poorest, or they're in. If they get caught, they're in legal difficulties. It's a nice way to put it. They're criminals, some of them. Some of them end up in prison. And they're kids, they're children, they're youth. So we feed them. We give them water. And we've done it about 6 or 7 times since we've been there. And I have to tell you, I know that's not the main thing that God's calling me to do. But it's the main thing I want to do while I'm there. When you go to the streets and you feed people, and they say, thank you for remembering us. Thank you for the food. And when you give them a hug, it means something. I like giving hugs and hugs, just for the record. God's changing me too. Slow. It means something. They're living on the streets. It means something to them. Or they're living in the poorest communities you would ever imagine. You won't find them here. You won't find any community anywhere near as poor as the ones we encounter there. But you remembered me. You cared. Thank you. They all say thank you. You remembered. You didn't forget. Everyone else has shoved me aside and forgotten. And you didn't do it. It matters. Like, it really matters. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Happened to me this weekend. Exactly a stranger. Stranger danger. But you're a stranger. Listen, when teams come to Honduras, or when people come, the team from Fredericton, we didn't know any of them. I knew one of them. Sorry, that's a lie. I barely knew the leader. But when they came, I didn't know them. And he's back it up one, if you can. And he's not even in that picture. But those 4 girls and the guy in the back in the orange, Dale, I didn't know any of them before they came to Honduras, but we invited them into our lives. We invited them to live the floor above us, which when there's bunk beds and it can get a little loud at times, but for various reasons. We won't get into some of those reasons, but gets out the pool. But we invited them in, and they understood that we were inviting them into our lives, not just the country. Yes, thank you for coming. Here's some work. Off you go. No, we invited them into our lives. We invited them into our apartment. We invited them into our home, into our ministry. We invited them in. The second team, that one from Edmonton, Alberta. Speaking of the frozen chosen. 10 of those people had never been on a mission trip in their entire lives. That is not a young crowd. There's a couple of them that are. Of course, I am. Anna. But the others, like the youngest person in that crowd was 35. The oldest was older than me, for the record. And 10 of those people had never been on a mission trip anywhere in the world, any time in their lives. But we invited them in. We had no idea. I had only met some of them for maybe an hour. And when I visited their church, and I tried to remember everybody but the leader and the pastor, and that was hard to do sometimes. But we invited them into our lives, and they invited us into theirs. They were family. When you do that, and when you do the kind of ministry that Manos does, Alvin and Nellie have had over 300. Some people have math to be easier than others. 300 plus children and teenagers have lived in their home for over the last 19 years, for periods of time. 300 people who are not blood related, who are the very least of these. Everyone else is saying, why are you bothering? But they're bothering still. After almost 20 years, they're still bothering. It matters. And so that's what it means to invite somebody in. Or I was in the hospital and you visited me. I know the women. Yep, I knew I was going to get that look right there. That girl right there, don't tell her. But don't be surprised if you come to Honduras in a couple of years if she's not living there. And I'm not just saying. See, God has a mission for you. I don't know where it will be. I don't know what it will be, but He has a mission. And it's to care for Him. And when we give food and water or a hug to a child or a youth who's been sniffing glue and living on the streets and hasn't had a shower or a bath in weeks, probably months, when you do that, you are loving Jesus. But when you do that here, you are loving Jesus. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters that you do what's at hand that God has placed in front of you where you are. And you be ready to move when He says it's time to move. Are you ready to move? I don't want yours necessarily. I mean, if you want to, or you feel led to, we will help you. We're still needing a lot of help, but we will, whatever we can do, we will help. But are you ready to embrace what He has for you? And maybe you already are, and that's great. But it starts with Him. Him and His family. That's where it starts. And it continues. And then it's wherever you are. You, when people look at you, He says, let me see you. When you serve them, they're seeing and they're experiencing you. What does he call us to do? Me and you. I don't know. He knows it. Do you want to know? Do you want to know more than anything else? When you do, you'll show it. When you do, you show it. In James 1:27 says, pure and genuine religion, or faith, if you will, in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world do what? Corrupt you. And it will. That's what it means to have true faith. That's what it means to serve him, to be a part of what he wants to do in the world. And maybe you'll be a grandfather to the grandfatherless. Next slide. Thank you for putting that in, my friend. Do you have the next slide? When he saw Anna, first, he went up to her and he said, Mi abuela. Guess what that is? Grandmother. And I laughed. Until he looked at me and said, Mi abuelo. Guess what that is? Grandpa. Maybe he's called you to be a grandfather or grandmother to the father, grandfatherless or grandmotherless, or a mother to the motherless, or a father to the fatherless. Or to visit the sick, to be an encourager to the sick, or to be someone when that first team went to the prison, girls' prison 3 times, I'm telling you, they made some relational connects, and they were touched in ways that it will last a lifetime for them. I guarantee it. Or feed the hungry, or serve or minister to the children. Well, we're doing it on Jesus' behalf. We're doing it on yours. And it's a blessing to us. So thank you for that. But you can actually thank us by doing it where you are. You can actually thank us by continuing to pray for us. You can actually thank us by coming to Honduras. But thank you. Because you mean everything to us. And your love and support and encouragement and prayers and financial support, all of that means everything to us. Well, you do. And in my life. Just so you know. My wife wants me to tell you that she loves you. That's a good way to finish. So thank you. And thank you for your love.
You can take your connection cards. If there's anything you want to communicate to Gordon, you can just put that on your seats and on the card, and then leave this on your seats or in the baskets at the back, and we'll be sure to pass it on to him as well. Why don't we just close our service with a word of prayer? Father, I just want to say thank you that you love us. You deeply, deeply care about us, and you want to intervene in our lives. You want to be a part of our lives, and you invite us to walk towards you. But then, Father, you just don't call us to yourself. You then send us out again to do that with other people's lives, to bring other people towards you so they can experience the joy, the peace that you offer, and the sense of purpose and mission for their lives too. Lord, Jesus said, I've come to give life to the full, and that's just what you long for each of us. I want to thank you. I pray that you'd help us find some way this week to represent your love to the people around us, whether it's people at our work, whether it's people we encounter as we go through the city, or whether it's even people in our own family. Would you help us to find some way just to sacrificially, unconditionally love people around us on your behalf, to represent you to them. And as a result, may lives be strengthened and encouraged. So, Father, thank you. Thanks for Gordon. Thanks for Anna. Thanks for what you're doing in their life. Thanks that Gordon's grasping the language now, is able to communicate, and Anna as well. Lord, would you bless them? Would you bear much fruit through them? May you encourage other ministry leaders through them. May you strengthen your church. So bless him even as he flies back, standby on the airlines with a dog. Lord, would you just make that flow smoothly? and get them there safely. Thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We hope to see you next week. We hope to see you Friday night at Jesus to the Nations. Have a great week.